These are true stories of the dark web. This is Secure Byte News. Learn from these stories to elevate your online security culture. Story 1, November 2008. The Pentagon's Operation Buckshot, Yankee and the cyber attack on DoD and CENTCOM. The cyber incident in November 2008 marked a major security breach, targeting classified networks at the United States Department of Defense and U.S. Central Command. This breach, often described as the most severe compromise of U.S. military computers to date, was orchestrated by a foreign intelligence agency that successfully infiltrated the networks via a USB flash drive infected with malware. The attack was initiated when the compromised USB drive was inserted into a U.S. military laptop at a Middle Eastern base. The malware, covertly placed on the drive by the foreign agency, managed to upload itself onto a CENTCOM network. Once inside, it spread undetected across both classified and unclassified systems, establishing a digital beachhead from which the attackers could siphon classified information to their own servers, known as agent.tz. The malware spread through the networks by exploiting vulnerabilities in the operating systems and software applications. Additionally, it employed spear phishing techniques to deceive users into clicking on malicious links or opening infected attachments. This approach enabled the malware to access sensitive information and propagate to other systems within the network. In response to the breach, a large-scale operation dubbed Operation Buckshot Yankee was launched to eliminate the malware and prevent future attacks. This effort included disabling all USB drives and external media devices and conducting an exhaustive analysis of all systems to locate and eradicate any remaining traces of the malware. The incident also triggered a reassessment of U.S. cyber defense strategies, leading to the establishment of U.S. Cyber Command, responsible for the daily protection of defense networks and supporting military and counter-terrorism missions. The military also adopted a two-tiered cyber defense approach, combining traditional IT defenses with intelligence capabilities from the National Security Agency and signals intelligence for active defense, identifying emerging attacks and insider threats, often referred to as advanced persistent threats. This event underscores the critical importance of cybersecurity for essential infrastructure, particularly for organizations like the military that depend on sensitive information to fulfill their missions. It also serves as a stark reminder of the risks associated with removable media such as USB drives and the necessity of enforcing stringent security measures to guard against cyber threats. Story 2, January 2009. The Distributed Denial of Service (DDoS) attack on Israel's internet infrastructure during military operation in 2009. The 2009 cyber attack on Israel's internet infrastructure marked a pivotal moment in the history of cyber warfare. During a military operation in the Gaza Strip, Israel faced a major assault on its internet infrastructure by a botnet composed of at least 5 million computers. This attack, which utilized a distributed denial of service method, targeted government websites, flooding them with traffic and rendering them inaccessible. It was suspected that a criminal organization from the former Soviet Union executed the attack, possibly funded by Hamas or Hezbollah. Although these groups had previously used cyber attacks for political and military purposes, the scale of this incident was unprecedented. The attack temporarily disrupted the Israeli government's online communication and access to information. At the time, this was considered one of the largest DDoS attacks in history, serving as a wake-up call for governments and organizations worldwide to recognize the growing threat of cyber attacks. The incident underscored the need for stronger cybersecurity measures and reliable backup systems to maintain operations during such attacks. This event became a turning point in cybersecurity development, prompting the adoption of new technologies and strategies to counter DDoS attacks. As a result, organizations have significantly improved their ability to defend against these attacks, reducing their impact on critical infrastructure. In summary, the 2009 cyber attack on Israel's internet infrastructure was a significant event that spurred the development of more effective cybersecurity measures. It highlighted the increasing use of cyber attacks for political and military objectives and underscored the importance of safeguarding critical infrastructure against such threats. Story 3, February 2009. FAA suffered massive data breach. More than 45,000 were affected. In February 2009, the Federal Aviation Administration informed its employees that one of its computers had been hacked, compromising the personally identifiable information of over 45,000 employees and retirees. Each affected individual received a personal notification about the breach. According to the FAA, 2 out of the 48 files on the breach server contained personal information about employees and retirees listed on the FAA's rolls as of the first week of February 2006. On February 9th, Acting FAA Administrator Lynn Osmus stated that the agency's Cybersecurity Management Center discovered the breach while investigating unusual activity on an administrative server. Most of the 48 compromised files were test files for application development, but 2 contained names and social security numbers. Medical information within the hacked files was encrypted and thus not identifiable. The FAA is taking swift action to implement both short-term and long-term measures, including procedural and technological updates to prevent future incidents. Affected current and former employees will soon receive a notification letter about the breach. Additionally, the FAA has posted FAQs on its employee and public websites, informed employee union representatives and congressional oversight committees, and notified law enforcement authorities who have begun investigating the theft. The compromised server was not linked to air traffic control systems or other operational FAA systems, and there is no indication that these systems were affected, according to the FAA. Although details on the incident are limited, Mike Rothman, Senior Vice President of Strategy at IAQ Networks, commended the FAA for its prompt response and effective execution of their response plan. However, he suggested that the FAA could enhance its information security by adopting a more monitoring-centric approach to data management. Story 4, February 2009. 600 computers at India's Ministry of External Affairs were hacked. In February 2009, the Indian Ministry of External Affairs, or MEA, stated that no classified information had been compromised, despite over 600 of its computers being hacked. As reported by Times Now, the computers were infected with spyware, malicious software that infiltrates a computer and controls the user's actions. Among the affected computers were those in the ministry's sensitive Pakistan section. Nevertheless, the MEA maintained that no national secrets were leaked, explaining that each senior official used 2 computers, one for internet access and another not connected to the internet for handling classified work. This was not the first hacking incident. In May 2008, the MEA acknowledged that its internal communication network had been breached by Chinese hackers. A series of similar intrusions into secure systems within the MEA was later traced back to China. Hacking the network allows hackers to gain access to a nation's internal policy matters. The attackers reportedly penetrated an encrypted computer network, then used specialized programs to decrypt the system. Story 5, February 2009, French Navy Rafales grounded by a computer virus. In February 2009, the French Navy, or Marine Nationale, acknowledged that the Conficker worm had affected several critical systems, preventing operational units from downloading flight plans due to database infections. Despite warnings about the virus issued in October 2008, French military authorities had not applied the necessary security patches released by Microsoft on October 15, 2008. Conficker targeted Microsoft Windows systems, exploiting a known vulnerability in the Windows Server service used by Windows 2000, Windows XP, Vista, Windows Server 2003, and Windows Server 2008. Once activated, the worm disabled key system services such as Windows Update, the Security Center, and the Personal Firewall. It then connected to external servers to download additional malware, gather information, or spread to other targets. According to French military reports, the worm's spread resulted in a loss of system availability, but did not compromise data integrity or confidentiality. As a result, the Marine Nationale had to sever communication links and revert to telephone, fax, and postal communication methods. The worm was suspected to have entered French internal networks via a USB drive. French officials did not consider it a deliberate attack and stated that the most sensitive network, SICMAR, was unaffected. The intrusion primarily impacted unsecured internal networks, including the Intramar French Navy network, which was promptly isolated. However, several computers were infected, and on January 15 and 16, 2009, the Navy's Rafale aircraft could not take off due to their inability to download flight plans. French newspapers highlighted that the Marine Nationale was not alone in this issue. In early January 2009, the British Defense Ministry also experienced an attack by a variant of the Conficker virus, which infected around 24 RAF bases and 75% of the Royal Navy fleet, including the Ark Royal aircraft carrier. Information security is crucial for flight operations and enhances aviation safety. Story 6. March 2009. Chinese hackers have been blamed for infiltrating confidential systems within Coca-Cola for more than a month. In 2009, Coca-Cola's security was breached after a senior executive received an email with a malicious link. The hackers, posing as Coca-Cola's CEO, tricked Paul Etchells, the deputy president for the Pacific region, into clicking the link. This allowed the hackers to install keyloggers and other malware on Mr. Etchells' computer. For a month, the hackers operated unnoticed, capturing sensitive information and gaining administrative access to Coca-Cola's network by stealing emails and passwords. Internal documents reviewed by Bloomberg suggest that state-backed Chinese attackers were responsible for the breach. The cyber attack occurred just before Coca-Cola was set to acquire China Huiyuan Juice Group for approximately $2.4 billion, the largest foreign takeover of a Chinese company at the time. The deal fell through 3 days after the attack, according to Bloomberg sources. Coca-Cola responded to the BBC by stating, "Our company's security team manages security risks in collaboration with appropriate security and law enforcement organizations worldwide. As a standard practice, we do not comment on security matters." Story 7, March 2009. Canadian researchers say China-based network infiltrated the government computers of 103 countries. In March 2009, Canadian researchers announced the discovery of a significant electronic spying operation based in China. This operation had infiltrated computers and stolen information from government and private offices worldwide, including those of the Dalai Lama. According to reports from the New York Times and the Associated Press, researchers from the University of Toronto found that nearly 1,300 computers in 103 countries were affected. The affected entities included embassies, foreign ministries, government offices, and Tibetan exile centers in various countries. However, there was no evidence that U.S. government offices were compromised. The researchers traced the hacking efforts to computers in China, but could not pinpoint the exact perpetrators. The spy network appeared to target the governments of South Africa, Southeast Asia, and the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader. The Chinese consulate in New York dismissed the accusations as baseless. The New York Times reported that the investigation began at the request of the Dalai Lama's office in India. Two specialists found that intruders had accessed files from personal computers used by several Tibetan exile groups. The researchers noted that the spy network had advanced capabilities, including the ability to use infected computers for camera and audio recording, allowing for potential in-room monitoring. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, like, and comment for cybersecurity stories. Click below to watch the full playlist.